Well, hello YouTube. How is everybody doing today on this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful early summer day? It's about 80 degrees out today. I figured I'd break out the bike for today's little run. Got a couple stories to do and figured today'd be a good day to break out the bike. I ain't had it out since last year. It's in case anybody's curious, that's what those $1,500 motorcycles on Amazon look like. $1,500 brand new. Of course, you have to build it yourself. You know, I've done a lot to that one. Today, I'm not out here for the bike. I'm out here actually for this little spot right here. Now, this is a place that I'm pretty familiar with. This is my hometown. And I can remember coming up here in the 4th grade. I think it was May Stallard, but I'm not sure. I think it was Miss Stallard brought us up here. She knew, you know, the historical significance of this graveyard and brought us up here to do rubbings with crayons. And I can remember coming up here in 4th grade doing that, you know, with crayons and paper, doing rubbings. And also remember when I was about, oh, we'll say about 16, many moons ago, there was a lady lived right in that house right there named Louise Farmer. It's Conley's now. Says they've been there since 2003, our nest. But Louise lived there for many years, and I used to work for her a lot. And there's a Williamson also owns this. She worked at the bank. I can remember there were trees here 15, 20 feet tall. And I come up here and cleared this entire graveyard all the way down to the ground. Took all the trees out and cleared the whole thing. It's been grassy ever since. But, you know, due for a trim, but at least it's not covered with trees anymore, so that's a plus. Okay, we've scampered over the wall. I think we still use that word, right? Scampered. I'm old school. I see it in newspaper, little clippings and things. This cemetery, like I said, this is the family cemetery of Benjamin Williamson Sr., one of the founders of Williamson and some of his descendants and family members. Now, many years ago, the entire area of Williamson was all woods and fields. We read that a lot of what is town now was once all cornfields, but of course we can only imagine what it was like. But it was beautiful, I'm sure, even without the little city that's here now. But anyhow, I'm going to sit down right here on this little rock and tell you guys a little story. Even though everyone here in this cemetery has a story, I'm here today for just one grave. The grave of Hiram Kilgore Bevans, born in 1817. Now, he was the son of John Bevans and Mary Jane Stacy. He married a woman named Luna Leslie on December 12th in 1835. She was the daughter of Robert and Elizabeth Compton Leslie and one of about 14 children. After a couple years of marriage, Hiram and Luna had their firstborn named Milton, and eventually they had around 8 children. Hiram lived as a farmer. On August 2nd in 1854, their 13-year-old son, Lafayette Jefferson Bevans, died, followed by their 6-year-old daughter, Nancy, on September 7th in 1857. Now, they're both buried at the Montreville Bevans Cemetery in Gulnair in Pike County, Kentucky. They had just plain markers, but since then someone has came in and made new markers for the Bevans family there. But anyway, back to our story. When the Civil War started, Hiram's sons, like many young men, volunteered and joined the Confederates. As far as we can tell, his oldest, Milton, joined the 1st Battalion, Kentucky Mounted Rifles, as did their second oldest child, John Jefferson Bevans. Sadly, like thousands of other families would experience firsthand, this move would turn out to be tragic. You see, Milton, he ended up getting captured and taken to a Civil War prisoner camp, where he died of smallpox on January 3rd in 1863 in St. Paul, Virginia, at the young age of 25. Though we can see that he did actually die this date in the war, we can't actually prove the smallpox part. It's the story, it's connected to him through legend and through family lore as well. Now, the other son, John Bevans, was also imprisoned after being captured in Piketon, Kentucky on May 15th in 1863 and was dead on October 23rd in 1863 at the young age of 23. His paperwork actually says he died of smallpox and is buried on an island in an unmarked grave. His find-a-grave has him listed on Johnson's Island Confederate Cemetery in Ottawa County, Ohio. But I don't know if that's just a guess or a fact. But anyway, the father, Hiram here, who is also listed as dying young at 44 on April 22nd in 1862, was that also Civil War related? Possibility, right? So anyway, Luna emerges from the Civil War 3 family members down, not including the previous 2 that she had already lost. She went on to live to the ripe old age of 80, where after a lifetimes of trials and tribulation, as well as I'm sure many smiles and grandchildren as well, she was finally laid to rest here next to her husband, who had been gone for almost 30 years at the time. After all of those years, she was finally reunited with him. The other children also lived to be old and gray, and most are buried at other cemetery where Nancy and Lafayette are. So, though this family is not unlike many others of the time, we still like to shine a light on the past and the people who brought us to where we are now. What we do with that information is up to us, but it's always a good thing to try and be thankful in your life and for what you have, because it could most certainly be much worse. Okay, now that we've got that part taken care of, Benjamin Williamson Sr., we kind of look around a little bit. Here's Benjamin Williamson Jr. right here. Several other Williamsons. I found a couple of other of the graves right over here on the other side of that wall. But this part I cannot confirm. I can neither confirm nor deny. But when I was little, and I was always told that this other section over here, now I don't know if it's true or not, but I was told that this was slave graves. And I was just talking to a lady right over here a minute ago, and we were just talking about the graveyard, and she was telling me, that she had always heard that it was slave graves as well. So I don't know, but that's what I've always heard, my entire life. Look at that one. Mammy. Servant. Yes. This is the slave grave here. I guess it says servant. Let me clean this out. I won't step on the headstone, so I'll stay to the side of it. I never noticed this before. I never did notice this before. I've been here before. This must have been overgrown. It says servant Mammy Maria. Look at that. That is wild, isn't it? Servant. Huh. I guess this must be. Apparently so, huh? Apparently so. The things you learn, the people you meet in graveyards. Amazing, isn't it? But just, you know, the Civil War, smallpox, the entire family. Poor Luna. You just got to imagine what she went through, right? That had to be hard. Had to be. But anyway, guys, I thought I would bring you guys out here today and show you a little bit of this, show you a little bit of history, a little bit of Civil War, a little bit of family tragedy, as a matter of fact, for the founders of my own hometown. And you don't, like I said, you don't really know all this stuff until you start to look into it. When you're young, you don't care. You know how it is when you're young. You think you know everything. I mentioned that once before. When you're 5, think back to yourself when you were 5 years old. You thought you knew everything, didn't you? When you got 10 years old, you realized that 5-year-old you wasn't that smart after all. When you got 15, you thought the same thing about 10-year-old you. Well, guess what? You do that about every 5 years for the rest of your life. You'll do that. You'll realize that you, just a few years ago, was pretty naive. But I got it now, right? You know how it is. I got it now. I know now. Until you don't. Until you learn that there was something else you didn't know. They say the beginning of wisdom is when you realize you don't know it all. Anyway, guys, thank y'all for coming out with us today, and hope you enjoyed the beautiful weather today. Beautiful sunny day. It's nice and warm. And we will see you next time on the Hillbilly Files. Leo out.